My hypothesis was actually pretty correct. Um, Instant yeast, it was much faster to make and it rose a lot faster. I will say, however, the active yeast was a bit more explosive with its rising, surprisingly. I put them both in the fridge in plastic wrap, which was a bit of a limitation and, a bit of an error on my part, and I wasn't quite used to doing something like that. Usually, I will proof stuff in a bowl with a wet paper towel over it or a damp towel over it, just so it can really ruminate in that. But since I was leaving this for so long, specifically overnight and throughout the school day, I didn't really want to have two big bowls taking up so much space in my fridge, so I wrapped them in plastic wrap, and it was probably a bit of a different proofing situation than I was used to. And so when I checked back on my yeast or on my doughs, after a couple hours, I had noticed that my active yeast had actually popped the plastic wrap and was slowly coming out of it. It was a very interesting look, and I I was surprised, but overall, in the end, the instant yeast was actually the one that had come out as a bigger dough ball. The only key differences that I can say is that active yeast, the dough is much, much stickier. Um, Instant yeast is I would say it's kind of similar to Play-Doh, whereas active yeast is very similar to like a wet slime, which is probably why it came out a bit crispier because it was just able to mold a bit more. Um, but yeah, instant yeast rose much quicker. It was much bigger and it holds its shape a lot more when it is cooking. Active yeast tends to shrink and come in a little bit. And so those are the key things that I found. I think the biggest errors or like the areas where I went wrong is that I've never really used active yeast before, so it was kind of new ground for me. I'm pretty used to instant yeast, but with the active yeast, I wasn't too sure like what was going on with the activating of it, and I wasn't sure if it was foamy enough, and so I just kind of like went with it. And so I don't know if it was fully activated or if it was overactivated or something like that, but the bread turned out fine and a lot of people heavily enjoyed it. Um, I the instant yeast is one that I'm much more familiar with. However, this time around, I accidentally put it in the wrong bowl that I was planning to use, so I had to awkwardly scoop it out. And I think I took a bit too much flour, so there was probably a little bit less flour in the instant yeast one than I was hoping for. Um, with why they both did actually explode. When I got home from school today to check on them, they were both like coming out of it and crusting on the edges, which was something that I wasn't too happy about because I don't generally like taking away because you have to cut that away. Um, since it's been out to the open for so long, you generally have to just like take it away and throw it away, which isn't my favorite thing to do. But since I was doing a new proofing method, it was nothing that could really be done about it. But those are the main things that I would touch on. I think definitely my hypothesis was supported. The instant yeast was faster and bigger, and it was a much quicker process overall.